So, SCR has recently received a few mesh upgrades over the past few weeks, and in today's video, I'll take a look at all of them. Starting off, I'll be taking a look at the upgraded Class 165 and 166, which have had a few issues when they were added, but those have been quickly fixed, so we'll just ignore that. But anyway, we're going to start off with taking a look at the door animations, and as the doors open, you might notice the small bounce that they do once they finish opening, which is a small little detail that can be kind of hard to miss if I'm going to be honest, but it's still a great detail nonetheless. And as you head inside, you can see the amount of detail that they put into the interior of the Class 165 166, featuring, well, the stuff you would kind of expect, like door buttons and that. But also, you might notice a few other details such as a few security cameras, but the most unique detail about this mesh upgrade is the 3+2 seating. Like, I don't think SCR's done that before, have they? So, this is actually a first, and I think that's actually quite nice. Each row of 3 seats has its own table, and you've got some luggage racks next to the doors. Heading towards the other end, you pass basically more of the same seats, a couple of toilets, one of which has some wheelchair spaces, and then we leave off with the door closing animation, which is basically more or less what you would expect. So, moving on to the exterior, you can see how detailed it is compared to the previous model, with the new lights textures and the small steps on the sides of the cab. Although, it does seem a bit small for a driver. Something tells me I should not be sitting that high. Anyway, the rest of the exterior is as detailed as you could probably expect from SCR nowadays. So how about we move on to the cab interior, which is full of buttons. You've got a lot of them. And of course you've got the GSMR thing or whatever. Like, apparently I only found that out by playing Train Simulator more. You've also got like a phone with a very high quality JPEG texture. Totally can't count the pixels on that. And then there's another phone? Wait, if someone could explain this to me in the comments, I'd happily appreciate it. And of course you've got a fire extinguisher and some blue panels in the ceiling, I guess. And finally there's the speedometer, which has a small red mark at 90 miles an hour. Keep that in mind as it'll be important shortly. So that's the mesh upgrade for the Class 165 and 166. Quite nice to see another mesh upgrade for Waterline. And, well, it's actually kind of a surprise that there's only 2 trains on Waterline left that are needed of an upgrade, which is going to be quite interesting to see how they do those, especially since one of them is something I am really looking forward to. Moving on to the other network that I got a mesh upgrade, the Class 365? Wait, is this technically an upgrade? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, this train has had quite a promising sneak peek when its cab interior was showcased. At first, a few members of the community, myself included, thought this would be a mesh upgrade for the Class 465. However, a few small details made it clear that this was the Class 365, the main one being a small little red mark at 100 miles an hour, just like the Class 165 and 166. And well, I think we all know the Class 465s don't go 100 miles an hour. And basically the second sneak peek just confirmed that. So onto the detail or decision that some people disagree with. This is technically an upgrade, however, it's come at the cost of replacing the Class 465, and I mean, I'm kind of disappointed about this, but the thing is, you'll be surprised at the actual reason for this happening. And guess what? The reason for Class 465 being replaced with the Class 365 was because third rail doesn't exist in the game, which is actually a surprise because, I mean, as much as SCR is going for detail and that, I would not expect them to actually care about realism for once. Except the Class 444, 458 and the 508 are still in the game, despite those trains also only running on third rail. Oh, and also, we can't forget that the Class 508 hasn't had a mesh upgrade yet, so its future probably isn't too certain right now. So anyway, let's take a look at the exterior, which is actually quite nice, as the train features its iconic smiley face front, and once again, the cab feels too small again. Like, something tells me they probably did not scale these trains right, but we'll just ignore that, as, I mean, the rest of the trains is quite good. Door animations basically the same, which makes sense to both networkers in a way. The seating layout is a bit different, being 2+2 seating throughout the train, and a different seating area around the accessible toilets, but otherwise basically the same. So how about we move on to the exterior, where there's the smiley face front that I previously mentioned, basically as expected. But moving on to the interior, you've got the different buttons that were shown in the sneak peek, the red mark at 100 miles per hour on a speedometer, and the phones are different on this train, but there's still that high quality JPEG texture. So anyway, what do I think of the Class 365? It's quite good, and it's nice to see another originally planned train get added years later. Maybe we'll get the Class 323 at some point, who knows? I mean, sure, it replaced Class 465 in the 1.10.12 update, but as I said earlier, we can't really do much about it, unfortunately. But anyway, there has been a suggestion I've noticed made by someone on the SCR Discord server to add a second variant of a Class 365 that has the old cab design, which looks basically the same as that of a Class 465, and I think that's a decent compromise. I mean, the HST has a variant that just adds buffers, so who's stopping them from making a variant of the Class 365 of the old cab design? And finally, the last of the recent mesh upgrades I had originally planned to talk about in this video, and that is the Class 68, and the amount of detail that they've put into this, especially with the yellow front making a return, and an upgrade to the Mark III coaches, which might mean we'll get a minor upgrade to the HST and its coaches too at some point, so we'll just see how it goes. These upgraded coaches are full of small details that make it clear that a lot of effort was put into upgrading them, starting with the doors where the handle actually turns, which is a small detail that I'm not sure the old coaches had, but I don't know. And then there's like what I presume are the guard panels which are locked or something. In the buffet area, nothing too special, but the seating area is where I think the most improvement has been made, as the tables on the backs of the seats have been modelled, and the full-size tables having actual plug sockets. Like, I would not expect them to make a detail that small. And you've got the luggage racks, but here's like the most important small detail that I think is the one most worth talking about, and that is these door unlocked indicators. These are basically links with the interlock lights, meaning that once the doors are closed, these indicators turn off, which is quite a small detail that I think is very nice. So that leaves the locomotives, which, along with the yellow front, have also received a new livery that basically gives the Class 68 a unique livery again, with basically just some lines going across the sides, all the way to the back. The exterior overall is, well, excellent. Like, can't think of anything wrong with it. So, moving on to cab interior, it's, well, as expected, nothing special I can say other than it's good, I guess. Although I have noticed that the speedometer seems to be the same one as the one found in the Class 397, as it somehow goes all the way up to 140, not sure what that's about, but anyway, the Class 68's mesh upgrade in the 1.10.10 update was quite an improvement from the previous model, and I think I'll be using the Class 68 more often now. And of course, another mesh upgrade was announced while I was making this script, and that was the Class 158. As you can see in the sneak peek, it was very clear that we'll be getting another high quality upgrade. I mean, we wouldn't have a bad one, especially considering the other upgrades I've taken a look at so far today, so I mean, nothing special there, but the most important detail of the sneak peek is the fact that there was a new /7 variant, and, well, I would have asked the question, is it going to be a W in it or not? Are they going to do something weird instead, like adding the GWR/9s or something? But guess what? That question has been answered, as very recently it was actually added into the game. Anyway, you've got the small bounce making an appearance again. Heading inside, you've got the cab door, a bin, and the floor around the door has this material detail, which is a nice detail. I mean, although I don't think it'll be noticed that often, because how often would you just be looking down at the floor when getting on a train? But anyway, passenger section, as detailed as expected, very nice, but one thing you might notice is that there's now the uniquely blue and yellow displays, which is a real feature that some Class 158s have. Heading through the trains, basically as expected. I mean, I don't want to be repeating myself like multiple times or something. So yeah, that's it for the Class 158, except there's now a new variant, which is the /7, which is a double unit. So it does give one question. can you walk between the two units, as this is the first double unit in the game where you have the gangway between the two units, so can you walk between them? And the answer is yes, you can absolutely do that. Oh, and guess what? You can just walk into the driver's cab whenever. Anyway, this does come with a small change, like the dispatching and guarding procedures, as even though this is a double unit, the guard is all the way at the back of the train and not in the middle, so just keep that in mind when dispatching or guarding from now on. Oh, and also, it appears that if you buy the Class 158, along with the previous variants you would get before, you also get the /7 for free, like no extra purchase needed, which is another nice addition, I guess. But anyway, let's take a look at the exterior, which is, once again, well, as expected. Let's move on to something where I can actually have something unique to talk about, and that is inside the cab. You've got the standard things, the GSMR, the phone buttons, the speedometer, brake pressure meters, and the AWS. Then there's this bit here that I presume would show the current front lights, but it's currently not functional. But the most important detail is this, the destination indicator controller, which basically just displays the current destination. Anyway, back to the Class 158, which is, well, once again, another good upgrade, and I think this is definitely one of those trains that, like, it's just worth buying. Well, that's about it for all the recent mesh upgrades, but that does mean that my previous speculations about 1.11 are a bit outdated, so I decided to think about what trains might be added, or, well, rather, which trains would I like to see be added, and those are the Class 322 on Airlink, maybe the Class 153 for the Morgan Sound Shuttle, and might seem a bit of a stretch, but maybe the Class 222 on Express, I don't know. I mean, all just stuff I would rather want to see, but there is an update on the status of the new driving system, which is stated as only needing a few more tweaks, which means, I don't know, sounds like it's going to be quite close, and we've got a new technical lead working behind the scenes, so we've got that as well. So that's about it for my updated speculations of the next major update, and there's one small thing I just want to quickly go over before I end this video, and that is I can finally get back to making SCR content. I mean, with the promising things that we could be getting in the future, I'm sure it'll be going for long enough for me to continue making a few videos here and there. Basically, we'll just see how it goes for me, and well, that's basically it for this review of the recent mesh upgrades, with a few new speculations I have for version 1.11. I hope you enjoyed this video, and with that, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one.